Hi, welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast. I am thrilled to be bringing to you the latest interview with a member of the cast of the new series of Quantum Leap, Tyson Turrou. Tyson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, we've just seen Tyson in the latest episode aired tonight, A Decent Proposal, so we are going to be talking about that. But first, I'd really like to understand a bit about your background, how you got into acting, some of your past projects. I really want to ask you about Loners in particular, but what can you tell me about your history to date?
Well, I grew up in a small town in Colorado, and I sort of fell in love with film on the set of Thelma and Louise. My sister is my older sister, and she graduated from our local college and happened to get a job in the Thelma and Louise production office. So when I was 12 years old, I was on the set, and Ridley Scott directing, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon, and they took over this tiny little town in eastern Utah, smoke blowing down the street, wetting the street down, neon lights, and just automatically I knew that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
How could you
And
not be
so
caught up in that?
it was incredible. I mean, they call it being bit by the bug, and it was just
Yeah.
I was this sort of, and then the movie came out, and of course it's an incredible movie, and it has social presence and everything, and that's sort of been my true north ever since. And so that was filmmaking, and then with acting, I sort of had a hard time in school. I don't know if I want to say I was being bullied, but I was a shy kid, and I could do an Elvis impersonation, and that got me attention, and I did it on stage in the eighth grade, and caught the "Hey, look at me" disease. So so uh, those two things went together, and I came out to LA to go to USC Film School. And after I graduated from film school, I minored in theater and started acting, and uh, the rest is history, I guess.
So quite a kind of very focused, driven
Yeah, I've
through line
really
for you,
considered.
starting from that first moment.
Yeah, I really consider myself lucky to have that passion for something in life. I feel like if every teenager could have a passion for something like that, that drives them forward and gives them purpose, uh, being a teenager would be a heck of a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah, the reason I wanted to talk to you about Loners, besides the fact that it's a really fun film, and you're great in it as an actor, but I noticed the production credit you mentioned about the interest in filmmaking. What led you to be involved behind the scenes on that?
Yeah, it's funny, so I went to film school, and that was my major. And
Mm.
once I graduated, I just focused on acting, sort of sadly. And then this opportunity sort of fell into my lap to get back into the filmmaking side of things. And I was in this play in Los Angeles called Lone and Non, and I thought that it would make a good film.
Right.
And a friend of mine had a hookup at a local film school to film there and use their cameras and soundstage and everything. And so I talked to the writer, and we kept the main six cast members of the cast of the play, and then we added 20 more actors and opened it up, and just such a fun experience. Creating my first feature with friends that I love, and yeah, I'm proud of the movie. It was kind of like going back to film school. So now I have a couple of other projects that I have in the pike as well, and we'll see if I can push those rocks up the hill.
Great. I'll ask you about those at the end. I definitely want to hear about them.
Sure.
But yeah, for our listeners and our watchers that haven't seen Loners, I mean, yeah, you got Stephen Tobolowsky in it.
Yeah.
I assume he's one of the extras that you added in that wasn't there in
Yes.
the original. And
Yeah,
um,
I was in an acting class of his, and I just love him. He's got an amazing podcast too. I don't know if you've ever heard the Tobolowsky Files. Just great podcast. Really, philosophical, great guy. And he did us the favor of being in our film, and that was a real highlight.
yeah, he always comes across as such a nice guy. And
Yeah.
yeah, as I say, it's a fun film, and I recommend it to the listeners. It's well worth watching.
Wow. Thanks for watching.
Some great commentary as well as the obvious
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah.
Um, Sticking with the comedy theme,
Mhm.
we got to talk about Quantum Leap. Obviously, that's what you're here for. How did you get involved with this role for Quantum Leap?
Well, the casting director, Jennifer Cooper and Lindsay have been sort of my casting angels. I met Lindsay, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, and they cast me in a couple of CSIs, CSI Cyber, where I played my usual bad guy and tried to shoot a kid and stuff. And then in CSI New York where I was actually a good guy. And so they've brought me in over the years, and I was lucky enough to be part of this. And it came at kind of the longest stretch of no gigs that I've ever had. And, with the pandemic and everything, things have just really changed in the industry. And, and they came to my rescue again, and I'm incredibly grateful.
I'm going to ask you there then maybe about this because I noticed in Loners you play a bit of a dick. You
Yeah.
mentioned in CSI you play a bad guy. You're definitely not a nice guy in Quantum Leap either.
Yeah.
Is do you is this a typecast thing for you?
It sure is.
Do
Well,
you
yeah,
often get
yeah.
into the kind of slightly sleazier side because you're coming across as a really nice guy, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, yeah, I'm
But
a good actor.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the beady little eyes that just people look in my eyes and they don't trust me. So for the same reason I've never booked any commercial work because nobody wants me selling their products. So, but yeah, about three-quarters of my roles are pretty nasty. I played Charles Manson once.
Oh, I
So
missed that.
that was on stage.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, and Ku Klux Klan members, and just as nasty as you can get. I've done it, so it's fun to be a character actor.
Yeah. Um, so you were casting Quantum Leap, and I guess were you there for the one day doing your footage for the end of episode 3 and the start of episode 4?
Yeah, well, we shot so in episode 4, the last scene where he knocks me out. We shot that scene first on the backstage of the Universal lot, which was really fun. It's always great when you see the Universal trams going by, and it makes you feel like the real deal. And then the next week, I think we shot at the bar, so we could shoot the end of 3 and the beginning of 4, at the same day.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about the experience, maybe of that first day. Then starting off with that sequence outside, was that all you? No stunt double there taking the fall.
That was me, yeah. And because I'm a bad guy, I've been punched and shot and everything. So I
You're
guess,
used to this
uh,
then.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the experience was incredible. I can honestly say this was, maybe the nicest cast and crew that I've ever worked with. Um, and Ray was so nice, and Caitlin, um, even Travis, guest starring. I know he wasn't really part of the official cast, but
Hmm.
super nice guy. And you're not always welcomed. It's kind of tough being a guest star sometimes because you're just this tiny little piece in this big wheel, and but they were just so welcoming. It was so much fun. I was so happy to be working. I was so happy to be working on Quantum Leap. It was a show that, when I was a kid, I watched every single week, and so it's super fun to be a part of that universe. And then the cherry on top was just how nice everybody was, and just such a fun experience.
Oh, fantastic! And then you did the second day that you came back. You did the stuff inside the bar, and
Yeah.
one thing I'm particularly interested in. I actually spoke to Anastasia last
Mhm.
week, who played
Okay.
the Mirror Eva. So got some insights there. Um, but I'm really interested in how, as a performer, you're able to switch between you got to presumably you're hitting on Raymond Lee, getting
Mhm.
very much involved in that, and then suddenly he's being swapped out. I assume with that was that back to back that you did the mirror shot and the shots with Ray in sort of the same
Yeah.
time frame.
they what they eventually figured out was that she would just hide below the bar. So, Ray is in camera, and then he would drop down out of camera, and then she stood up. And so they whipped over to the mirror, whipped back, and she was there.
So that was all in one. I assumed the whip was to cover up a cut. That was
no,
just all.
yeah. They tried crossing it first, but then they realized they could just go up and down. And so
that's one way of doing it.
I know, it was fun. There was a slight little pause there, but it was just a practical effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So from your point of view, then you did have to just jump straight from this, being sleazy with one actor to just carrying straight on with another without. How challenging is that for you?
Well, different actors work different ways, but I'm of the school where you kind of use a substitution. And so I already had a substitution in my mind, for Ray. And so I'm just sort of using the same substitution when she gets up. And so it's, kind of, you got half your brain here and half your brain over there. And so just focus on the over there.
Let's just maybe talk a little bit more broadly, because you said you used to watch the show as a kid, and I'm sure, like many of us, you find one of the more fun elements of the show is that it can go anywhere in the past. What was it like walking into set that day and seeing 1981 around you?
I know, it's so much fun. First of all, the wardrobe they gave me was incredible. It's just so obnoxious. So that helps, And then all the extras, the background, actors with their great wardrobe. And the first night that we were doing the stuff on the back lot at Universal, it was really late. And so when they took lunch, at midnight, we went back to our trailers, and I just listened to a 1981 playlist and tried to dance as sleazily as I could in the mirror. So I kind of had that in my mind in between takes, and I think I had a Blondie song in my mind to get me in the mood. So I was thinking of that Blondie song, and I was 4 in 1981. But it's funny how all these songs brought back all these memories, and it was fun to kind of go back to that time period.
Yeah, I was 1 at the time, and I had the same experience watching the show. Because I don't know if you've seen it yet, but they use a lot of era-specific music in that episode. And,
I know. I was surprised. They must have a huge budget for music. And it's funny. We were watching the end of 3 with my wife and daughter in our hotel room in New York. And Don't You Want Me Baby came on. And that is my wife's and I duet karaoke song.
Oh, so, fantastic.
Yeah, so it was really fun to hear that.
Yeah, that's and coming in at the end of episode 3, such a serious episode, then just to hit you with that song in that
nice change of pace. Nice change of pace.
Yeah, massive tonal shift. So is there anything else that you can share with us about the experience of being on Quantum Leap, or the casting, or the people that you worked with?
Like I say, they're just all extremely nice. I listened to Ray's interview on your podcast, and sometimes actors are good at being nice, but not necessarily themselves in interviews, and that really is him. And I was rewatching an old Quantum Leap episode. I watched the Jennifer Aniston episode,
Oh, yeah.
And the original Sam has just so much heart, I'm blanking on the actor's name.
Scott Bakula.
Yeah, thank you, Scott Bakula. He has so much heart, and I love how the show, it really took time. The original took time. There's pauses and stuff. They let the actors think, and that's not really something that happens much in network TV now. But I like how they kept that heart, and I really feel like Ray has that heart. Just being around him, he really fits this character who can walk a mile in somebody else's shoes because I feel like that's who he is in real life. And so it was just so much fun being around that. You kind of feel like you're up to something a little more special than your average, TV show.
That's so good to hear. Like you say, Scott Bakula had a reputation for being such a nice, welcoming guy, and
Yeah,
Ray seems to be getting that reputation as well. We're hearing from all the
yeah,
guest actors like yourself, Tim, how much fun it was to be on set. So
yeah.
it's very heartwarming to hear.
I hope it takes him far, and he's the next Tom Hanks, or Henry Winkler. Just these people who have incredible, reputations that precede them, and then they live up to it.
Yeah, we all came off the interview feeling like, yeah, we hope he does well.
Yeah.
But enough of Ray's future. Maybe we can turn to your future. What kind of projects have you got in the pipeline that you can tell us about?
Well, as far as acting, it's always a surprise because you get an audition and then you're working 2 days later a lot of the time. So I don't have anything with acting. With producing, I have several projects, but two that I'm working on more. One is based on the true story of a AP calculus teacher here in East LA named Anthony Yam. And I got a great director, writer named Sean Koo attached to it. He came up with this fun script where it's the teacher biopic where for 6 years in a row, all of Anthony's students passed the AP exam, which was unheard of. And it was in a very, low income school. One year, one of them got a perfect score, which only 12 kids in the world got, and they went to the Obama White House and everything. So it's just a super uplifting story. And then Anthony is a Korean immigrant. He came here when he was 13 or 12 or 13. So half of the movie is his first few years as an immigrant, and then the other half is his first year as a teacher, sort of both coming of age stories. And then he has a huge imagination, so it breaks into dance and song and all these imaginative scenarios. So we're really trying to mix up the teacher genre. So I love that project and all the heart in that. And then another one, I optioned this book based on my great grandfather, written by a Brit, and he was in the FBI in the 30s, and he broke up the first Nazi spy ring in America, and in New York. And then he wrote a book about it, and he quit the FBI to write the book, which really made J. Edgar Hoover angry. So he went from being J. Edgar Hoover's protege to the top of his shit list, and the book was about the case in this world famous trial, and then Warner Brothers made the first anti-Nazi movie based on the book, and Edward G. Robinson played my great grandfather. It's called Confessions of a Nazi Spy. It was sort of a seminal movie in 1939, I think. And he was also a really complicated guy. He went on this anti-fascism speaking tour, tried to turn the tide against fascism in the US and the world, and before it was well known what the Nazis were up to. And he was also a liar and a media hound. And we have no idea what the first 15 years of his life actually were because he told so many different stories. So I think it's a great character, very timely, as so much of the world is figuring out which way to go. And I think it would make a great limited series. So I'm like reaching out now to all of my writer, showrunner friends and seeing if I can dig up any interest there.
They both sound like really interesting projects. Best of luck to you, obviously, but genuinely, I'm interested to see where those go. So,
well, hopefully you'll see them on the screen.
Well, please stay in touch with us as these progress. If you get titles for them, release dates, anything, we'll update the description in the YouTube video, so any of the viewers can just look down below and they will see the latest links. Let us know. But for now, thank you again for your time. It's been really great talking to you, and really fun hearing your experiences on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I hope that the show just keeps getting better and better, and even people as passionate about it as the three of you are can relive the glory of the original.